Welcome to Policy on Demand Week in Review. I'm Rohit Kumar. So my key takeaway from this week is with the president's remarks on Wednesday evening, we now have the full scope of both spending proposals and tax increases that Congress is going to have to consider. And now the real work begins of figuring out how they're going to package them together. Are they going to split them up? And which of these, especially on the tax increase side, which of these things really have the votes? So all to now has been sort of just the run up, but the game officially begins. So the question I got asked most this week was really around capital gains increase and whether or not it's going all the way to ordinary rates and when might it be effective. And look, on the capital gains increase, I would be surprised if it went all the way to ordinary rates, in part because it's not clear that that would be the revenue maximizing number. But more importantly, we've already had prominent Senate Democrats express some skepticism about taking the rate that high. On the effective date, this is a really interesting one because while I think most provisions are likely to be prospective tied to date of enactment, a capital gains increase, you couldn't rule out the possibility that it would be effective date of bill introduction or date of first committee action, because in the absence of that, in the natural course, a lot of taxpayers who see the legislation coming, see that the rate is going up, would trigger their gain and pay tax under the lower rate regime. And it wouldn't surprise me if Congress, particularly congressional Democrats in the majority, wanted to sort of foreclose that, relatively straightforward planning opportunity and make sure all the revenue that is raised is credited to the bill so that it can be spent on the spending priorities that are also going to be litigated at the same time. So in the coming week, I would focus on two things. One is pay very close attention to what Democrats, both in the House and the Senate, are saying about these proposals. We've gotten some initial reactions, but there'll be more to come in the weeks ahead because that will give us a signal as to where might be the votes for some of these proposals. The other thing I would continue to focus on is the bipartisan infrastructure discussions that are underway. Do those continue? Do we think that there's actually a hope for a bipartisan deal this summer? Because if that happens, that will take probably most of the summer to accomplish, meaning any consideration of tax increase legislation gets pushed later into the fall, and that could have consequences both for the viability of those tax increases, but certainly as to the timing of those tax increases.